I am Reverend Hannah Bergstrom de Leon, and I pastor at Minneola Lutheran Church in Goodhue, Minnesota. It is a small country church. We worship about 65, and I believe I've been here now 6 years. My boys just turned 6, so I've been here 6 years. I was part of the 2019-2020 Moses Project, and my understanding is that you might be discerning whether that is something that you would like to do and something that would be meaningful or not for you. And so I just wanted to share a bit of my experience with you. One of my personal favorite memories from the Moses Project was probably our last retreat that we had in person in January of 2020. And it probably has a lot of really good things in my, good warm feelings in my heart for many reasons, as it was probably the last time I got together with that many people for God knows how long. But I think at that point we were halfway through and a lot of us had started to get to know each other. But I'm from Minnesota, and many of the folks who were there were in Iowa and working and serving in Iowa. And so it was a really wonderful time for me to just really get to sit down and chat with folks, chat with other colleagues in different places, in different contexts about who they are and what they're feeling called to. And that was really meaningful for me. The thing that I went into the Moses Project really looking for was a time and an ability to carve out of my life and articulate my leadership and my pastoral leadership particularly. And this opportunity that came across for me really gave me that chance and let me do it in relationship, which was really wonderful. My colleague group or small group, and we had a mentor. I was lucky enough to be the only woman in that colleague group, and it was fine. But what was funny about that is the personalities in there are really strong personalities, and we were able to really be ourselves. My mentor, Bob, has gone through and done so much in life, and he has a story for just about everything, which I adore. And he never wanted to necessarily give advice as much, or at least I never took it that way. I took it more as, here are some stories, here are some thoughts, here are some things to think about, which was what I really needed. I don't do advice very well, at all. And that colleague group really became a place to have fun and let loose a little bit, but also really dive deep, into some of the things that we were wrestling with, and it being safe and okay. And like wrestling with not necessarily just in our context, but like as a leader. And that was really what I was looking for. And I was really pleasantly surprised by, the option and the opportunity that I had with that. And I live in Minnesota. So, and all of those were done remotely, even before COVID. And it was good, and it was relational, and there was a real strong connection. Only one of the gentlemen did I know before the Moses Project, but which did help, I think, on some level too, and had a mutual respect with him. And so that just really helped kind of enter into and go deeper in the midst of that. The colleagues, for me, it was all about the colleagues. Many of the people that were in the Moses Project are folks that I had seen on social media through the different kind of ELCA Facebook groups and that sort of thing. And so they were people to me, but it was so wonderful to be able to put faces and bodies to these people who I'd been interacting with, or at least reading and participating in communication over social media. And I'm going to say, I think my favorite moment of the whole thing was the January we went down to Des Moines and we had a retreat, but it was that evening. I think it was the first evening we got there, and we went out to this wonderful place and had dinner, had tacos. Nothing wrong with tacos. But that night there were like a bunch of tables, like long tables, and I was able to just like go from, I'm a bit of an extrovert, so, but I was able to go from table to table and really have different yet meaningful conversations. The table I started with was one of all women, and we really talked about what it is to be a woman in ministry and the good and the bad. And I did not yet have blonde hair at that time. I was thinking about doing this particular look, and we sat there and talked about that and like the consequences of that, and the goods and the bads, and like being a public figure the way that we are. And like most people aren't going to want to talk to you about those kind of things. And then at the end, we were talking about whiskey and books and things that we were really connecting with in a different way outside of ministry. And I really cherished that time, and I cherished those connections, even though they might not be something that I follow up on every day, every month even, or even every year. But those connections in the time that we had them were meaningful and provided me the space and opportunity to really start etching out and articulating pastoral leadership for myself in a time where things are just really uncertain throughout the world. So the Moses Project, I highly recommend it. I mean, it's like all things, you'll get out what you put in. But I think it helps you carve out the time you need, or the time you might be wanting, to focus on whether that's leadership or professional development of a different kind, pastoral care, collegial care, like whatever you might be looking for. I think the Moses Project allows for that sort of, there's an overarching theme, but then there's also really gives you the time to do some of the more personal, individual things. And if you're willing to put the time and energy into that, I think it's a really valuable tool and opportunity for you. So I hope that through your discernment process, you can come to a feeling that the Moses Project is right for you, but perhaps not this year, maybe a year in the future, and that you're able to soak up all of the wisdom that putting 30 or 20 colleagues in one room does. So, peace.